All right, so we have a business strategist on the line here. Tim's getting Mark Fenner on the line. Not to be confused with Mark Fenner, the U.S. Olympic curling team. I don't think.
Are we sure about that, Mark? Good morning.
Hello, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Tim.
Hey, Ditch is with me from Rock 103 this morning in the third hour, and Ditch had a question right off the top that really is more of a bio question than anything else.
Mark, were you on the U.S. Olympic curling team?
No, they would not even let me get close to that curling. Don't possess those skills.
Okay, well, because if you Google Mark Fenner, the U.S. Olympic curling guy pops up, and Tim said, no, he's a business strategist. He doesn't play on ice. I said, okay.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct.
You know, we've been deemed essential. We've been here, and we haven't missed any days. But, you know, we've seen really the evolution of sick days in some companies looking, you know, from the outside looking in regarding, you know, the number of sick days and taking them. And it seems like maybe some of that stigma is kind of getting broken.
Yeah. I think certainly in the near term, it certainly is. I mean, I went to the grocery store first time in 3 weeks last night, and I caught myself almost having to sneeze, and I was paranoid. I thought, you know, where do I run to go sneeze? I don't want anybody to see me sneeze in here. And so I think, you know, we're all going to be more sensitive about people that are sneezing or coughing or not feeling well being around us. And the expectation is if you're not feeling good, you're going to stay home.
Yeah, being more aware of your surroundings is one thing that I think this whole thing is really magnified. Social shaming, if you cough or sneeze is going to become a thing. Because if I at the grocery store, someone has sneezed and everyone looks at him like, okay, did he do the proper sneeze into his his arm? Did he do And you kind of feel guilty. I know what you're talking about. It's like, geez, it's something I had to do. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of it's allergy driven and what have you.
Right.
But there's going to be, you know, for years I told my clients if your employee has a fever, they need to stay home. If not, they need to be at work. And just kind of use that as a general guideline. But, you know, there's going to be heightened sensitivity around this going forward. And I think employers, you know, we're going to need to focus on creating a safe work environment where your employees feel safe being in your hands. I mean, they're coming into your office to work.
But here's the fine. It's so because double-edged sword, because so many people fear losing their job if they don't go to work. And those are the people that you have showing up who maybe aren't necessarily really sick, but maybe have a real low-grade fever, which could be the beginning of something bigger. But they don't tell anybody because they're like, man, well, I can't lose my job. I've got to get to work.
Right.
You know, so that's another problem that I think this is. Mark, do you think that it's going to become commonplace where larger employers, and I've heard this discussed and batted around for New York City, where temperatures will be taken as you walk into buildings?
I think you are in places where you have large numbers of employees or they're close together. And, you know, you don't have an option to spread people out. I think you're going to see those kinds of measures taking place. I think we're going to have to in the short term. Now, once we get once we find a way to cure this thing, then, you know, maybe not so much. But I think in the beginning, this is going to be commonplace.
Mark Fenner joining us on Memphis Morning News. And Mark, there are also situations, and I guess this is kind of a tangent to what Ditch was saying a moment ago, that some people are afraid to take time off, but some people also have in their minds that, you know, I've got to be Mr. Versatility or Miss Versatility, and I can't be missed at work. Therefore, I'm not taking that time off. And that's another stigma, too, that we sometimes impose upon ourselves.
Well, think of, you know, a decade or two ago when Michael Jordan was in the NBA Finals and the heroics he pulled, battling the flu or food poisoning, whatever it was. And, you know, we looked up to him as our hero for playing through that. And so you're right. There's a lot of stigma behind, you know, kind of working through the pain. And then there's kind of the other side of it, right? There's people that, you know, the first itch they feel, they think, oh my God, I'm getting sick. I better stay home. And so this is not going to be an easy thing to balance. I think testing is going to be important. Taking people's temperatures is going to be important. and and working at home. Let's not forget that. If people can work from home, I think you're going to see a lot more effort towards making that available. Not available in all jobs, but when it can be, that's a great option.
It used to somewhat be looked upon as heroic if you fight through the illness. I remember the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels, the basketball program, Kermit, was saying at after the press conferences after one of their games that there was a couple of players who were feeling like they had the flu. This was last season, and he's like, nobody cares that you have the flu except for your mom. You got to get out there and play. You got to fight through it. And I'm not publicly shaming him. I'm just saying that's the difference of then and what we're going to be facing now.
Yeah, well, clearly with this pandemic going on, people are not going to be tolerant of people showing up with those kind of heroics. So I think the culture is going to help us self-regulate that. Now, long term, when we get several years out and we've kind of forgotten about this, we'll see what happens then. But certainly in the short term, I don't think people are going to allow you to come around if you're not feeling good. People aren't going to want you on their team if you're sick.
Right, especially in a locker room. Mark Fenner's with us, and I posted on my Facebook page yesterday a picture of a Viking standing on the beach. He just got off of his Viking ship, and it says, "I can't go out because of the virus. Sounds weak and whining. Try this instead. I've sworn an oath of solitude until the pestilence is purged from thy lands." That sounds much more valiant and much more heroic. So that's the way we should look at it. Somebody sent that to me. I didn't come up with it.
Yeah, that may be the new norm, my friend.
Right. It may be. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on Memphis Morning News. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe. Hopefully get to talk to you again really, really soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care. All right, there's our new pal, Mark Fenner, on Memphis Morning News.
Not the curling Mark Fenner.
Not the curling Mark Fenner.